Hi, I'm Suzy, and a while back I made a video called Anticipating Ammonite, which was basically a pre-movie review of the movie Ammonite, which came out about a month ago now. And in the video I basically talked about my expectations for the movies, the anticipation, all the excitement for Kate Winslet and Saoirse Ronan to come together in this sapphic piece. And it was very exciting. I was very happy for it. I reviewed a bunch of reviews that people had made, even though I hadn't seen it yet. And so now I thought it would only make sense to make a review of the movie after having seen it. So, spoiler alert, if you haven't seen it, go check it out. And I think it'll be good if we start by running through the whole thing. So one thing that really stuck out throughout this whole movie was the auditory overload. There were so many sounds. The sea was overpowering, the sound of scrubbing on the floor, of pebbles. It was really a lot to deal with. So the movie starts out with Kate Winslet and her at her work by the sea, collecting fossils, being the perfect green witch that she is. And we get that Kate Winslet is a bit of a hotshot in this one, as her work's in the British Museum, although we do see that women are overlooked. Anne's name is switched out for another when put on display. The movie opens up with Kate at work by the sea, and we quickly get the sense that her and her mother are not all that wealthy, despite Anne's work being displayed publicly in the best place you could want your fossil to be, which is a museum. So I felt like I needed to clear up the fact that these characters do have names. Miss Anning is played by Kate Winslet, Roderick is played by James McArdle, and Charlotte is played by Saoirse Ronan. But my pea-brain switches between their real names and the names I bothered to remember, so just know that Kate equals Anne equals Miss Anning, whose first name is actually Mary. I correct myself eventually. Charlotte is Saoirse Ronan, and Rod is Roderick. Hopefully that's not too confusing. Okay, back to the video. So this Roderick guy shows up at the shop, and already they're talking about the title of the movie. Kate is looking at some Ammonite and he's looking to purchase it. And this guy offers to work the shores with Kate, scientist to scientist, so he can learn from this prestigious woman that she is. He really hypes her up. So after a day at the beach with Kate, Roderick is rejoiced. You know, he's super happy, but he's sick of his sick wife who is suffering from melancholy. So he offers her to Kate and suggests that the two should spend some time by the shore, you know, get her in a good mood. So I walk in silence. Saoirse refuses Kate's pissy sandwich. Kate then spots a rock that she likes, and that somehow grabs Charlotte's attention. Kate lays it out straight, telling her that she doesn't want to be with her, that she's only getting paid to hang out with her, and that she would appreciate it if she would just shut up and let her do her work. So thanks to that, Charlotte decides to go on a little swim. And the audience already gets the sense from the omnipresence of the sea since the beginning of this movie and the crashing cold look of the water that going for a swim is not the best idea, but anything to prove a point, I guess. And that didn't last long. So the next day, Charlotte shows up to Kate's shop and faints in her arms. Charlotte has a fever that she got from a chill, and I think we can guess why. Anne feels guilty, but not guilty enough to admit that she knows what the cause of this fever is. Anyways, the verdict is Miss Anning needs to take care of Charlotte while she rests up, because it's a woman's duty to take care of other women. This is where you would expect the plot to pick up since we've been through 3 misdirects already, but no. So cue a montage of Kate taking care of Saoirse, which again is very tactile and raw. This whole time, Kate continues to doodle in her little book by Saoirse's side, who apparently is also prone to nightmares and sleep talk. And this is what makes Kate more drawn into her. I'm guessing it's a cue to her character being all tough and loving a challenge, and she wants to discover the enigma that is Charlotte. I feel as though when Kate's character goes to her neighbor's house, it's kind of another show of class divide. You'd think that a new season has started, but no, it's just a neighbor's house. Killing Eve flashbacks intensify. We sense that there's been a past relationship between the two, which will probably prod back up later in the remaining hour and 30 minutes. Damn, this movie is slow. But for now, Miss Anning just takes this off. Continues tactile montage. Anne decides to draw Charlotte's back while she's in her trance, portrait of a lady vibes, but Charlotte notices, and so that bit ends there. After we don't know how many time's kind of ambiguous, Kate has clearly been doing an amazing job because the doctor comes around and Saoirse's all fine. They go out to the beach and Kate steals a few more glances at Saoirse's feet this time. Shots like these were probably the most effective at showing how Miss Anning was becoming so much more sensitive to Mrs. Murchison, aka Charlotte, and their brewing connection. I don't know, I just think there was something really cute and innocent about it. Anyways, let's fast forward to the clutch. Mrs. Murchison is still depressed, and Miss Anning is slowly realizing that the issue is deeper than physical illness, but is more intrigued than she was at the beginning of their venture together. We learn that Miss Anning doesn't want any children because of her 8 dead siblings, yikes, kind of a wet wipe. And the doctor comes by again, this time to seemingly flirt with Miss Anning and asks her out to some musical, but Anne doesn't want to go and leaves Charlotte behind. So he takes his chances and invites them both. I cut in here because I find it quite interesting to see the evolution of their glances, Kate and Saoirse's, from stolen to unsolicited to strong gazes to hostility. Their connection is really felt through what cannot be heard / what is not said, which again is super wholesome but not overly exciting. So they go to the theatre, which is incredibly triggering for Miss Anning because she feels once again out of place in this high society environment. The doctor shoots his shot, it ends terribly and ends up leaving to go sit down early. And we see Miss Anning get jealous of Charlotte and her closeness to that neighbour we saw earlier. The jealousy is clearly rooted in the fact that Anne feels incompetent for not being able to relate to her. Have I been calling her Anne this whole time? It's Mary, okay. The jealousy is clearly rooted in the fact that Mary can't relate to high society life. You honestly do feel for her, but at this point, the plot has become pretty clear to me. Charlotte's not going to care about Mary's lack of society knowledge, even though Mary's past is not going to allow her to trust Charlotte so easily. They're going to bond over their natural and authentic connection that transcends common interests. They're going to grow onto each other, learn about each other's lives and the rest of the third. All to build up to the climax, and then who knows if Charlotte will even go back to her Roderick guy. And this does kind of happen, and it's quite beautiful. It might just be the common motif of the earth and raw tones of this movie, but everything is so natural, like no part of this felt forced. I mean, they managed to take mud and make it romantic. Random piece of trivia, we actually find out that that piece from the beginning was dug up by Mary when she was only 11 years old. The sale of the piece provided for her family, and that may be why to this day she feels impelled to continue to provide for her mother and miss out on building relationships like that one with the neighbor. So yeah, they fall in love and it's cute and they're cute and in love, and the sea has gone from crashing to calm, but with 40 minutes left I could guess that the piece wouldn't stay for long. While Charlotte is clearly doing better in her melancholy, Mary still feels alone. Kate Winslet's character has merely opened up and hasn't really gone through that much change, so you can sense that that would be a problem in the future. See this when Charlotte tries to help Miss Anning sell the piece that they dug up together a couple days before to this man, and she uses her eloquence and her language and her smart voice, so to speak, to encourage the man to buy the piece. Unfortunately, Mary is unimpressed because of her big ego, but with her dying mother and all that, she's kind of forced to accept Charlotte's sales skills to make a bit of money. As predicted, after the weeks have gone by, Charlotte's husband sends Charlotte a letter, and she hands Mary her parting gift, which is a little handkerchief with a flower she embroidered. They spend one last steamy night together before Charlotte inevitably packs up and leaves. Their relationship ends really difficultly, as emotional public goodbyes are never permitted for sapphic lovers, and it's painful to watch them just go back to holding in their feelings. Skeptical Granny's mad that Kate didn't help her wash her little emblematic porcelain trinkets, but Mary is too sad to even care. She just said goodbye to the one person that allowed her to be a little less tough. But karma is a sick bee because after this, she dies. So Killing Eve neighbor drops by to rekindle her and Mary's friendship over Skeptical Granny's corpse, and she kind of accuses Mary of being distant, which is interesting, and we get the sense that they used to be, but that Mary's hostility ruined the relationship, which ends up bringing her to tears, which is the first strong emotion we've seen from her that is not sexual. The movie ends with Mary getting a letter from Charlotte, which is kind of cute when she opens, and she travels to board the next boat to find Mrs. Murchison in her big London home. Mary tears up at the label on the Ammonite, which she found and that Charlotte's husband had purchased early in the movie, which has been corrected to have her name on the label and not some silly white man's, giving her the recognition that she deserves, which I think was quite cute. And so we find out why Charlotte called Mary to her home in London, as Charlotte surprises Mary with a room in her own house. Miss Anning is overwhelmed without showing any emotion and is not enthusiastic about the whole thing. She decides against moving in. Mary's offended by the idea of just being a doll in Charlotte's fancy house, and Charlotte's confused as to why Mary isn't jumping for joy, as she basically just bought her a place in high society, and the two walk. I really like the shot because it shows what brought Mary and Charlotte together. I mean, their work by the sea is really just reminiscent of the whole movie, but at the same time, they're in a setting that Mary does not feel comfortable in at all, and you know, you just sense distance between them, but also connection. And they can see each other through the glass, but not be with each other, which is quite sad. And yeah, that was the movie. It was definitely a slow burner. So I'd give this movie a solid 3.5 stars out of 5. I kind of got a rating system going on my letterbox, so this is what I'm going off of. I say 3.5 stars because it did not reinstate my life purpose. I think that comes down to the fact that I found the movie quite low. Like it was good, but it didn't give me this level. Speaking of letterbox, let's check out some people's reviews like we did in the anticipating Ammonite video. Here's a review that I kind of vibe with. I mean, okay, same rating as mine. I feel like most people, I appreciated this movie. Like, it wasn't bad. No part of this movie was bad. There were a lot of good notes. I love the themes. I love the earthiness of the movie. I actually like that it didn't have the happiest of endings. I think that it was really real. No part of it felt forced, but at the same time, it wasn't as much of a roller coaster. And then that's only because they decided to go for a more tactile, more natural, more auditory experience, which is fine. I want to report this movie for tricking me. It could be my favorite of this year. Yeah, honestly, I think the hype I felt in my other video does not really match up to the mellowness I feel after having watched it. Again, not to say it's bad, it's just I think I was expecting a little more. In fact, I was kind of mellow for Happiest Season, which is another gay movie that came out this year, and I loved it so much. Let me know if you want me to do a review on it because it was amazing. Okay, this is a bit of a long one. 2 stars. I spent many hours of my life seeking out stories like these. Not all of them are or have to be love stories, but even when love isn't the main focus, there's still one element that every good movie needs: chemistry. And Ammonite has none. Okay, this isn't the only thing lacking here, but it's the most glaring reason why this never clicked for me. I sometimes give the benefit of the doubt to some of the worst films I've seen because they made me feel something, but here there's nothing to feel. I felt neither happy nor sad, no desire to see the characters together or apart. I have no idea what went wrong here or where it started going wrong. All I know is that it doesn't work for me. I might have to like this one. Like in other romance movies, I have a strong connection to the characters, but I wasn't too sad about the fact that they weren't together, mainly because I don't think I ever felt any type of way of them being together, which is interesting. This movie actually got 66% on Rotten Tomatoes, which is pretty good, 6.5 on IMDb, and Metacritic rated at 73%. So I agree with these reviews. Like 66 is a pretty 2 out of 3 stars, pretty good. Anyways, here are some of the Rotten Tomato reviews. Do with it what you will. I agree with this one. I feel like we're all on the same page. Final thoughts. This movie was a good watch. It wasn't amazing, but it wasn't terrible. And all in all, I think that Kate Winslet and Saoirse Ronan did a good part playing the characters. They may not have had the best chemistry, but I think that's because so much of their connection was just unsaid. You know, they didn't really talk that much to each other. And I think that's maybe where it fell short for a lot of people. I liked it, and at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. So thank you for watching this video. If you like it, give it a thumbs up. I have so many other movie related videos in mind that I want to do. Honestly, I've just spent so much of this quarantine, or this whole panoramic, watching a bunch of movies. I never was a movie person. Now I cannot stop watching them. So await more from me. Anyways, bye.